But this HQ trivia show, I mean trivia app, has done super well. And I will definitely have to pause it because I'm going to start the lecture. If you notice, there's no quiz this week. I try to put a quiz together, guys. If you don't see a quiz at the module, don't get scared. It's absolutely fine. It's not absolutely your responsibility to create a quiz. So, please understand that, okay? So I think we're going to begin. There's 6 viewers. I will do the quorum at 6. We need more viewers, guys, because this is the way it works. We need enough viewers for us to have one. Remember, your discussion is important. What you're saying here, is your discussion great? Make sure you stipulate it correctly, because I'm going to start the actual lecture, and this lecture will serve for this next module. This next week, after this next week, I think I may have had it confused, is where the midterm began. So not this one, but the next Monday, I will be talking about your midterm. Your midterm is a 20 to 30 question midterm on the chapters provided. This chapter is going to be on chapter 7. Okay, but I'll begin. So it's beginning in 3, 2, 1. Hello, this is Professor Puente. This is Professor Puente giving you chapter 7 module. I am going to speak about your midterm coming up from 7 on before. Watch the videos, look at the aspect, and let me tell you that there's definitely a midterm coming. Gotta do this. It's a big part of your grade. So please pay attention. Go through the chapters, go through the midterm, the terms of e-commerce, and we'll go from there, okay? And there is definitely discussion going on here on chapter 7. I may have misspoke. This week we are talking about chapter 7, not the midterm, okay? So with that said, let's talk about service breakdowns and service recovery of consumer, of your course, of the McGraw-Hill textbook, okay? So let's go next. We'll talk about it. Let me see. Cookie settings. All right. So next part of your textbook is coming up. Let's see. We may have an issue here. Okay, here we go. So chapter 7, what is a service breakdown? Service breakdown occurs whenever any product or service fails to meet the customer expectations. So whenever a customer goes to any service, they have somewhat of an expectation. It could be a cheap or low expectation to a very expensive, elaborate expectation. But this is important to understand. A food service professional brings a meal containing an ingredient and not expected or wanted by the customer. One of the customers specified should not be added. So you have to realize it's just we have an expectation when we go anywhere, and we try to see how well it meets. Customer expectations can affect how service is delivered and perceived, okay? So when you go to a seafood restaurant, you expect seafood, okay? And if you were to do an Uber, you expect to get to the place you're supposed to be at. So expectation is really important for you to understand. Expectation creates the mold of your marketing. This is what's good. If you were to say, hey, I'm a real estate agent, people already know what you're providing. That's a mold, okay? They also know the type of service, the expectation they get from you. If you don't meet that expectation, they will definitely be unsatisfied. Unsatisfied customers don't necessarily help you. So this is why your book tries to push why the importance of expectation. Okay, so the role of behavioral style. Okay, the more you know about behavioral style preferences, the easier it becomes to deal with. Okay, so there's about 4 behavioral styles, right? Rational, prefer one-to-one small group interaction, and collegial and patient, avoid conflict, and dislike calling attention to themselves. Then there's inquisitive, rarely volunteer feelings, ask wide questions, desire facts and figures. Okay, decisive. They're decisive, directive, task-oriented. Okay, so they really go direct and they want to get what they're supposed to get. Is the people that go to the mall or they shop on Amazon and just want it done. They don't want the experience. And then there's expressive. which are open, laid back, flexible, and positive. Don't forget that these are all academic definitions the marketing theory puts together and have studied upon behavioral studies in social science. Okay, so they've done surveys enough to realize that these are the four terms that do not interact with each other. They are very divergent from each other, and it means that these are the ones you need to study. So this is all important because in academia, this is how you learn. Research is doing studies, not necessarily research is telling you from their mind how things work. Difficult customers. So 7-3, again, marketing theory professors telling you about how difficult customers show up on their research study. Okay, difficult customer, those in which you have dealt with have negative, angry, or demanding, aggressive people. Okay, these are people who are dissatisfied with your service or product. These are people who are indecisive or lack knowledge of your product, service, or policies, who are rude, inconsiderate of others, are talkative, are internal customers with special requests, speak primarily a language other than yours, are elderly, need extra assistance, are young and inexperienced, or have some kind of disability. Okay, so remember, please tell me your thoughts on what we're talking about. Adeline says, as customers, we do have expectations, and we're not always the best customers. We can be very picky and difficult. Very true, Adeline. Keith says there is very different level of expectation between the two, as it's much easier to fix a Chick-fil-A sandwich than a chicken marsala with no mushrooms. Absolutely. So good points there. Let's see if we see a little more. What's the next two? Demanding or domineering customers. Demanding or domineering customers customers might be demanding or domineering. Many times, domineering behavior is part of a personality style or simply behavior that they have learned. Be professional to them. Don't raise your voice or retaliate verbally. If they're coming to you with some kind of concept, you gotta listen. You gotta listen to them. You have to take the higher road. This is your role. Okay, this is absolutely your role. Get in that mode. That's where the word professional comes from. If you go to Buckingham Palace, you see those guards that are there and they're very professional and they get poked around and messed with and they're very standing still. They have something called poise. That's what you gotta be. Be professional. Respect the customer. You don't necessarily have to agree with the customer. You have to just respect them. This is the key to business, customer service. It builds up upon satisfaction, which creates more demand and creates more stability for your brand. Be firm and fair and focus on the customer needs. It keeps going towards that. It keeps going towards that. I'll tell you this. I was getting my hair cut today at a I think it's for Sports Clips. There, I realized I was watching ESPN, and one of the people that were doing their hair, and I was early, decided to change the channel on me. I was the only customer there. And I started to think about it. I'm like, that employee wanted to change the channel at the expense of me wanting to watch this ESPN show. I'll bet that Sport Clips will not be happy about that because the entire atmosphere is for the customer to be happy. You go to a sports clip, it really is people cutting hair to these clients who are more sports driven, right? So you have to realize that customer driven is probably how the business is set up. It has a game, and the game is to gain revenue, which means gain profit, right? Tell the customer what you can do. Hey, I cannot do this, or I can do this. What would you like? Because I could try to get it and I cannot. It's funny enough, one of my earlier people that trained me in real estate told me, hey, don't overpromise and underdeliver. Underpromise and overdeliver, because that's the key to satisfaction. Okay. And I thought that was very good, and it definitely has helped. Indecisive customers truly do not know what they want or need. It's very difficult because satisfaction is hard to meet. You know, people who are decisive, even though rude, can get you a concept of what they want or looking for. Indecisive, they don't know. They absolutely don't know. So be careful. Be patient with them. Ask open-ended questions. Listen actively. Suggest other options and guide the decision making, because obviously they don't have a concept of what they really want. So Different strategies for different customers. That's absolutely correct. I had a guest scream and swear at Carrabba's for the entire restaurant to hear because his meal was taking so long. So you don't have that as fast food restaurants. So at least that's not in my experience. That's right, Keith. I guess when you go to a fast food restaurant, you don't expect that level of service. You go to Carrabba's, it's probably going to be, I want to say, not a Valentine's dinner, but it's going to be some kind of special occasion. So you want that expectation to meet Carrabba's brand. So Keith, overall, you may be under the whole umbrella expectation of Carrabba's, not necessarily you. Okay. It's also why, Keith, in the positive end of that, you get paid a higher tip than anyone in fast food. So it has goods and bads on that, right? You're supposed to, at least. It is super important to never argue with the customers when they're angry or complaining. If you if you exceed their expectations, they have a much better experience. That's right, Hassan. You try to exceed their expectations. And this is very difficult to do. It's not easy. And no one's saying you need to bow down to the customers. And some of you already work under this kind of system. But if you're a business owner, you know that's what you want, because the best marketing is good service. That's the best marketing. Not the billboards, not the Facebook messages, not the Instagram accounts. Good customer service. So that's definitely important. If you meet expectations of a customer when you're constantly striving to do the best with the customer in mind, you can keep the amount of angry customers down. Thank you, Lexi. Very, very good. I love how customers yell at the waiter, waitress about when they aren't the ones who are in control of it. But I understand keeping composure and taking one for the team where you don't to play and apologize. Hannah, very true. I gotta be honest. I try to keep it very, very down on the complaining. But if it's something that's a little ridiculous, I will have to tell the waiter. I do keep in mind that it's difficult sometimes. Never set a wrong expectation for customers. Explain to them what you will try to do, but to do for them what you know what you can do for them. I'll tell you this, Lexi. When someone comes up to the table and tells me, hey, we're having a tough night, I would probably appreciate it and lay off. When someone I don't even know never comes to the table, I will get more upset. So it's real simple. If you're sitting there and you've been waiting for 30 minutes, eventually it's going to be on the customer to have to complain, right? So let's keep going. With that said, let's go to the next section of the chapter, which is 7.3, and then we go to 7.4. 7.4, handling emotions and with the emotion reducing model. Okay, so you want to reduce your emotion. Okay, emotions invoke feelings that not necessarily help you sometimes. Remember, this is business. In business, you're trying to be a little more focused on profit making for the company, as well as customer driven, because the customer holds the key to your business. So try to think about emotion reducing model. Okay, customer focused message. Okay, emotional issue, customer focused message, problem solving, customer focused message. It goes back to customer focused message. This doesn't really kind of click to you if you were not an owner. Let me tell you, some of you work for someone at a location. But if you were the owner of this business, I promise you will think of it this way. You will think the customer's always right, because you want to have that good brand name. This is why it's a little difficult now. When you're a piece of the clog, you don't necessarily see it this way. You see it as, well, sometimes the customer could be wrong. That's right. But from a business owner, I can tell you, even if they were wrong, you want to make them feel like they were right. That's not the point. That's not the point, right? So then you see customer defection and remedy potential actual problems. Poor service and complacency if customers perceive that you or not organization do not sincerely care about them or solve their problems. In inappropriate complaint resolution, they're complaining, and they don't really get a resolution. And unmet needs, if they have so many needs and they came to you and they're not really met. Okay, so let's go back and let's see. As owner, you try to make your customers happy, says Gallia, in all aspects, because your customers may be difficult, So be firm and fair to your customers. This is how you can help your customer on your business. Lexi says, never set a wrong expectation with your customer. Explain to them what you will try to do, but do for them and try to do them at the same time. I'll tell you this, Lexi. It's important you understand too, when they have a complaint, that you try to mitigate something about it with the permission of your supervisor. But you're trying to make them feel like you're handling their situation. You're absolutely taking the situation and doing it. That's really important. Okay. So let's go to chapter 7.5. Working with internal customers, coworkers. Coworkers in itself is its own thing. You have to be able to work with them and kind of understand. Meet all commitments, stay connected, and overall have an effective relationship. I don't see a term in this chapter that we can definitely go over with, but you have peers. And in your peer system, you want to seem like you're staying connected. You have some kind of brotherhood with them, sisterhood with them. Important to also have happy coworkers along with good customers. Okay. And then meet your commitments. If they tell you you're gonna, take a shift for them, if they tell you you expect them to make it, then you're gonna make it the other way around. Okay. So again, back to the golden rule. Somehow, do unto others as you expect it for yourself. Strategies for preventing dissatisfaction and problem solving. Think like the customer. Try to think, hey, this customer really wanted this service. I got to provide it. If I provide it and they're satisfied, they're going to be happy. This is a big day. It's Valentine's Day. They pay quite a bit of money for this moment. I'm going to make sure they are satisfied. That's how you're going to get ahead. This does not mean even if you're not the owner. If you're not the owner, especially, right? Respect the customer and definitely exceed expectations. Try to even understand how to exceed expectations. Some expectations are actually pretty low, so which you can meet. Some are so high, you have to be able to try to get there. So see that the expectation part is probably where it's going to help you. This is the problem-solving process. If you were part of my problem-solving class, my decisions class, you would know about this. Identify the problem, compile, analyze the data, identify the alternatives, evaluate the alternatives, and make a decision. And then monitor the results. It's the exact same process that goes over and over again on the decision-making theory on how to do that. I will take a picture of that so the way I can kind of have it for you guys. Identify the problem, compile, analyze the data, identify the alternatives, evaluate the alternatives, make a decision, and monitor the results. Okay, so that's that part of the chapter. Make sure you learn it, especially for your midterm. And implement a service recovery strategy. So you have some kind of service you're trying to pick up, you're trying to gather some market share. Remember, the word strategy is specific to you. Tactics is for everyone. You go to college to learn tactics, strategy, you customize it to you, right? So a product or service that never was expected, that was missed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So then you'll see here how this tactic is being used as a strategy. Okay, apologize over and over again, even if you don't think it was your fault. And this is kind of a little different. Apologize how they feel. Okay, if they tell you, hey, I felt neglected, and even though you did everything right, hey, I apologize about how you feel, because that definitely helps. Take immediate action, swift. If you hear issues, you want to be swift. You want to be acting on this, right? And at the same time, show compassion and provide compensation. You don't know how many times I hear customers, all they really want to hear is, hey, I know you wasted your time. Here's a little bit of it, whatever it is, 10% off. Some department stores automatically give 10% off at any issue, just because they don't want to be the ones to not be the ones that can hear it. And conduct a follow-up. How you doing, sir? I so apologize for your moment in time. It's not that they're always right. It's that don't forget the customers are absolutely the end-all be-all bosses of businesses. Okay, that's why when someone says they're an entrepreneur, they're probably going to say they're their own boss, and that is not necessarily true. Okay, so then let me go over in 7.10. I always try to make sure my customers think that they know exactly what they want and try to make sure and keep things good. It's definitely important, guys. Nice work. Okay. Disaster planning initiatives in the service industry recovery process. create a preparedness program for the business, identify critical business functions, create an emergency communications plan, test preparedness systems regularly, and build disaster preparedness kit. Okay. And I believe we're very close, and that's it. Look at the key terms. If you want to study correctly for this midterm, look at the key terms, right? And that's all, guys. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll answer a few. That is all. Next week of midterm, do study. I thought it would be this week, but it's not. I wanted to correct that. And that's all. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.